Under the dull amber light of a Richmond street lamp, the evening erupted with a noise that shocked everyone, a detonation that tore through the atmosphere like a storm. Almost immediately, the shooting started, its reports bouncing from the asphalt of the R56 highway, slicing through the cries of drivers and frightened locals. It was intended to be a flawlessly executed mission, an attack on a Fidelity security vehicle transporting millions, yet for the crew who initiated the violence that night, it concluded in flames, death, and defeat. 3 of those men would not live to see another day, 1 blameless man would not return to his family, and a young girl trapped in the line of fire would regain consciousness in a medical facility, her small frame shredded by rounds intended for profit. The Richmond cash-in-transit robbery was more than a simple crime, it was bedlam cloaked in strategy. A squad of well-armed individuals had organized it for weeks, perhaps longer. Their objective was definite, their path was charted, their bombs were prepared, and they were convinced they controlled all factors. However, as the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Lamloni, later stated, their single error, a minor mistake in the explosive quantity, caused the whole scheme to collapse. The offenders positioned their devices, set the trigger, and anticipated that moment of ruin that would breach the truck's strongbox and release the wealth within, but instead of blasting the lock, the charge malfunctioned, a heavy, shocking boom that rocked the vehicle but failed to break it. In that moment, all was lost, the robbery had collapsed, the vault stayed shut, the money secure, and terror consumed the thieves. What ensued was total pandemonium. Furious, the gunmen aimed their weapons at everybody in the vicinity. Observers later recounted a horror show, projectiles soaring in all directions, automobiles veering away, individuals yelling and falling to the pavement. A passerby trapped in the gunshot volley died immediately, and a child, pure and oblivious to the surrounding insanity, was hit and lay wounded as the racket of automatic weapons shattered the nighttime quiet. For law enforcement, this stopped being about theft, it became a fight for authority. Mkhwanazi's statement was resolute and icy, they began firing indiscriminately, which resulted in those people being injured. In a matter of hours, his units were assembled, the Special Operations Team, the Hawks, and the Regional Investigation Squad deployed. The pursuit had commenced. The probe had one quick success, a firearm was discovered to be absent from the location. It was the property of one of the Fidelity protectors who had resisted prior to the blast, and that very weapon would quickly guide officers to the accountable parties. Via fast data collection and mobile signal tracking, police started following activities associated with identified robbery figures in the Durban region. It was not long before 3 identities emerged, men with extensive backgrounds in syndicated crime, each tied to the illicit world of cash transport gangs. By late Thursday, the mission had moved from Richmond to eThekwini. Officers assembled at various sites equipped with authorizations, information reports, and the stark resolve to eliminate the danger. The initial perpetrator was trapped in a shadowy passage close to Inanda. When police advanced, he unleashed gunfire, saturating the darkness with rounds. The counterstrike was immediate and absolute, he was eliminated in the exchange. Moments afterwards, a different unit proceeded to a secondary spot, now in KwaMashu. The fugitive attempted to escape in a hijacked car but was unsuccessful. He was shot during a short, fierce gunfight with authorities. The last culprit, thought to be the operational planner of the botched job, was located at a makeshift dwelling on the outskirts of Pietermaritzburg. Encircled and declining to yield, he also discharged his weapon and he was also mortally wounded. When the air cleared, 3 of the accused were deceased. The taken rifle was found together with bullets and multiple illegal guns, but what detectives uncovered afterwards caused waves through the private protection sector. One of the dead suspects was not merely a habitual lawbreaker, he was an ex-Fidelity worker. He had previously dressed in the identical gear as the sentinels he aimed to steal from. He understood their paths, their habits, their protocols, and as per Commissioner Mkhwanazi, that internal insight could be the answer to grasping how these thefts are arranged with such exactness. It is what we have constantly stated, Mkhwanazi informed the press, there is no cash-in-transit theft that occurs without internal data. One of the dead was employed by Fidelity. That is how they understand how to place themselves. That is how they understand the moment and location to hit. Currently, with the cell phones of the accused in proof holding, laboratory experts are sifting through communications, texts, and coded discussions that might expose who issued the commands and who is subsequent on the roster. Police think the trio were merely a component of a bigger ring, a system extending throughout KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, and even into adjacent regions, where cartels enlist internal collaborators, purchase intelligence, and organize robberies with tactical accuracy. Following the Richmond confrontation, detectives re-examined multiple cold files. They started correlating ballistic proof from prior incidents, housing designs, gun numbers, substance traces, and shortly an alarming trend started to appear. At minimum, 2 of the arms retrieved from Thursday's clashes corresponded with guns utilized in earlier cash transport thefts around the province. It is not the initial instance KwaZulu-Natal has witnessed such brutal clashes. The region has turned into a combat zone for weaponized groups attacking money trucks and shielded transports, frequently on isolated road sections where aid is delayed. But what differentiated this incident was not only the brutality, it was the imprudence. The choice to shoot at non-combatants overstepped a boundary even seasoned officers state they seldom witness. In Richmond, households are still grappling with the events. The dead bystander was a parent of 2 coming back from his job when he was trapped in an unfortunate situation. The surviving youngster is healing at a nearby clinic encircled by family members who still cannot grasp how a seemingly normal day finished in horror. For the police, the firefights were a somber yet essential action, one that highlights the harsh fact of South Africa's conflict with cash-in-transit offences. Each month, heavily equipped crews assault armored convoys employing bombs, military guns, and taken cars. The scope of their actions indicates an elevated level of planning, potentially including dishonest officers and internal aides. In 2024 by itself, over 150 tried robberies were logged across the country. KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng persist as the core of the emergency, with billions in currency transferred every day via freeways and country routes. Fidelity, G4S, and other leading protection companies have spent extensively on shield upgrades, aerial surveillance, and location tracking, but the lawbreakers keep advancing, modifying quicker than the structure intended to prevent them. That is the reason Mkhwanazi's declaration contains an alarming caution. These 3 are not the sole participants, there are numerous others that we are pursuing. Behind that speech rests a disquieting reality, that certain individuals assigned to conveying and safeguarding money are assisting in plotting its larceny. In confidential gatherings, Fidelity's leadership allegedly accepted that internal risks continue to be their most significant weakness. Staff with detailed awareness of truck timetables, staff shifts, and supply lines are being inspected under stricter examination, but disclosures continue. In the meantime, the neighborhoods near Richmond and eThekwini remain traumatized by the brutality. The blast on the R56 has turned into a token of how syndicated offense infiltrates daily existence, where weapon sounds do not just resonate along countryside paths, but through residences, educational institutions, and recollections. In the days following the shootings, police forensic crews went back to the R56 location to rebuild the order of events. The truck's burned skeleton remained as a scorched memory of the disorder. Pieces of bomb ingredients, bullet housings, and bits of broken glass covered the road's edge, and in the soil close by, a solitary children's sneaker abandoned in the fright became a lingering symbol of the night's unintended damage. Back in Durban, the remaining suspects' mobiles are currently the focus of a thorough digital investigation. Agents are following communication logs and monetary transactions, comparing them with recognized syndicate members in Pietermaritzburg, Johannesburg, and even Eswatini, where a number of South African escapees have hidden in recent seasons. At every retrieved communication, every erased note could be a hint directing to the hidden organizers. Preliminary signs propose the Richmond job was a segment of a wider operation, perhaps connected to additional CIT events in Greytown, Empangeni, and Pietermaritzburg earlier this year. As the proof develops, So does the inquiry that torments police and citizens similarly. How extensive is this? Who finances these activities? Who shields them internally? In a territory already burdened by graft, joblessness, and factional stress, organized robbery rings prosper in the gloom, hiring past military, shamed cops, and former protection personnel who understand weapon use and avoidance methods. For Mkhwanazi and his force, every mission bears a price. The Richmond battles might have preserved lives, but they also revealed how delicate South Africa's safety condition has grown. Even while the commissioner applauded his unit's courage and skill, he affirmed this struggle is not finished. The upcoming robbery might be imminent, another piece of highway, another secured truck, another explosion ripping through the quiet of a South African evening. But presently, along that bloodied freeway near Richmond, the powder has come, the proof tags are stored, the deceased have been collected, and in some place far off, the quiet memory of that blast remains, a signal that below the stillness, peril still operates in the blackness, anticipating its following chance to act.